Israel and Hamas have now been at war for 100 days. The fighting broke out on October 7th when Hamas militants stormed into southern Israel and killed about 1,200 people and took 250 others hostage. An Israeli military offensive since then has killed nearly 24,000 people and caused widespread destruction throughout Gaza. This is by far the deadliest and most destructive fighting that we've ever seen between the sides in Israel's 75-year history, and there's no sign of the fighting ending anytime soon. But there are a few things that we've learned so far, a few takeaways. Number one, Israel will never be the same. Israel is in a never-ending loop, repeating October 7th. It is all that people talk about here. The Israeli newscasts, radio programs, TV shows, all they do is talk about October 7th, stories of October 7th, stories of heroism, stories of tragedy. Obviously, they're following the performance of the Israeli troops inside Gaza very closely. They pay very little attention to what's going on the Palestinian side of things. This is an attack that has struck at Israel's psyche. It is something that people will remember for years to come. It is an attack that shattered the country's sense of safety, the sense of security, and the sense of trust in the country's leaders, both political and military. It is something that people talk about all the time. It's something that they will be talking about for many years to come, and it is something that will be very hard for the country to move away from. Number two, Gaza will never be the same. Gaza has never experienced destruction like what it's seeing right now. Already, roughly 1% of the territory's population has been killed in the fighting. Thousands of people are missing. Tens of thousands of people are wounded. There is widespread hunger. The UN estimates that about a quarter of the territory's people are going hungry. Something like 80 to 90% of the population have been displaced from their homes. Tens of thousands of people are just living in tent camps in cold, rainy winter weather. And there's no hope, there's no signs of when people might be able to return home or what they'll even return to. It will take many years for the territory to recover, and no one is quite sure how it will be rebuilt and who will pick up that price tag. Number three, the fighting between Israel and Hamas threatens to reverberate across the region. Almost immediately, Hezbollah forces, Iranian-backed Hezbollah forces in Lebanon began attacking Israel, and for the past 3 months or so, they have been fighting almost daily. At the same time, Iranian-backed forces have carried out a number of attacks on U.S. forces in Syria and Iraq. Iranian-backed Houthi rebels have been attacking shipping interests in the Red Sea. Initially, these were aimed at ships that they said were connected to Israel, but many of these ships have nothing to do with Israel. Just in recent days, U.S. and British forces have started to strike the Houthis as well. Now, none of these conflicts have spun out of control entirely, but this just underlines the ongoing tensions in the regions between a U.S.-led coalition and an Iranian-led coalition, and at any given moment there is always the risk that something could indeed spin out of control and spark a much broader region-wide conflict.
חברים יקרים, בשביל זה אנחנו ממשיכים, הצבא היא להמשיך. תודה רבה. תודה לך, תודה. תודה לך. תודה לך. איפה המפקד? מח"ט. מח"ט. תודה לך, תודה. תודה רבה חבר'ה. תודה רבה. תודה רבה.
Number 4, Israel cannot ignore the Palestinian issue. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has led the country for most of the past 15 years, and during that time there have been no serious peace efforts with the Palestinians. Instead, he has tried to cultivate ties with the broader Arab world, mostly Gulf Arab countries, with the idea that this would somehow put pressure on the Palestinians to make more concessions in the future. Well, October 7th was a wake-up call to Israel that the conflict with the Palestinians is not something that can be sidelined. It is not something that can just be managed forever, and at some point the country will have to find solutions to these very difficult, sticky, and intractable issues. Number 5, no one seems to have a clear idea of how Gaza will look after the war. Israel is talking about continuing its war throughout most of 2024 and maintaining a military presence in Gaza after that, perhaps for years to come. It says there can be no role for Hamas in a future Gaza Strip. The United States and the international community have presented far different visions. They don't want to see Hamas in Gaza, but they want to see the Palestinian Authority. That's the government in the West Bank that Hamas ousted in 2007. They want to see the Palestinian Authority move back into Gaza, and they want to see steps toward an independent Palestinian state in both territories, in Gaza and the West Bank. Well, Israel opposes a role of the Palestinian Authority inside Gaza. It also opposes Palestinian statehood. That means the sides are very far apart on even the most basic issues. No one has a clear vision for what Gaza will look like whenever this war comes to an end.